Okay, we're gonna see if this elliptical machine works. It had this cord that came with it, which presumably connects the bottom half to the top half. So we're gonna have to get up here somewhere in that tube, hopefully at this access point here, to connect in one half of that wiring. So there's our wire connected to the base. Here's the other side, which we need to get tucked up this tube. Pulled off the cover in the middle here, but found no access to the connector. Pulled off the interface panel at the top here, and sure enough, that's where we need to connect. So let's connect this in here, and then we'll feed the wire back down the tube all the way to the bottom end, where we'll reconnect it then here to the base, and then we'll see if this thing runs. So we're connected here on one side. Let's take the other side, feed it through the tube. And here we have it on this side. I'll have to plug her into here. I'm gonna have to ask for a hand from somebody to lift the top piece onto the base. So we got the electrical connected here, and I tried to give the elliptical a bit of a run to see if we could get the power going. Wasn't sure if it needed to be plugged in or not, but I checked the manual and it says there is a generator inside this thing, but I reckon that it's got to be run a little bit to put some energy into it, especially since it has been used for a while. So we're gonna have to set this thing up on the frame. Only problem is I noticed that I forgot to pick up the bolts from the auction house when we got this thing. So a kind neighbor happened to have exactly the right diameter threaded rod with nuts and washers for me. Thank you to Ford. We're just gonna have to cut that stuff up. We'll need to make it about 4 inches for these 6 bolts. And then we'll have to get maybe 3.5 for those, just to make sure that we're accounting for the size of 2 washers and nuts on each end. So we'll cut those up, see if we can get it on. Envelope of 4.5. That's what we need. This one's a bit shy. Might be a dud. This is why you always measure twice and cut once. For some final polishing, we'll use one of these type of wire brushes to clean off the ends here, get some of the burn marks off, just so they look nice. See if we can get that in focus. We'll pull that burn mark off. These things are nice, they're pretty cheap, just like $5 or $10 at the hardware store. And yeah, I want to make sure that there's no sharp edges and that these are clean and it's all secure, because we're installing this for my mom. And there we are, all polished up. No burn marks, no sharp edges. Almost looks factory cut. Okay, now we got the elliptical inside. There's the top half. Got the wiring connected up here. Just needs to be lifted into place. And we'll set all the bolts on and then get the generator going and see if it works. Okay, so we have the machine parts positioned here. The first two bolts are in. General concept for installation and positioning. Always install the bolts that are furthest away from each other so that you have on this distance here your lateral capacity, and on this distance here your inline moment resisting capacity. Got a couple of washers too that we collected, but they don't quite fit on the top and on the bottom. They won't really sit completely in line with the plate, so we'll just exclude them. The ends of the bolts are pretty clean already. We'll keep the nuts nice and tight, so we'll just put in the rest of these. We'll tap them in with a hammer. We got a bit of a problem here. Here's our bolt, but that is the electrical wire. So we're gonna have to fish around in there and get that wire out of the way. Okay, now we gotta get the cam arms in. Just like this. Put the one in, bolt it on both sides. I'm actually going to take that out and put those washers in though. They're a good size for here. They'll look nice. Oh, maybe not. Don't have quite enough bolt length for it. That's okay. Just put them in real tight. So same thing with this one. Comes up here, slides in, pin the bolt through, and then we'll give this thing a run, see if the generator is able to give it power. And we're on here and it's running. I can hear the generator going and it works. Yes. Probably have to charge it up a bit, and we'll definitely still have to tighten up some of those bolts. It's shaking a little bit, and I actually didn't even put one of the bolts in, but Mom will be very happy with this. Heard this thing rattle a little bit when I was running on it. See, that's a bit loose. Tighten that up. Let's check on the other side. You can see this is with a cap on. Pulled that piece off, but no need to pull that one off. Nothing rattling. So it sounds pretty good going backwards, but when you run it forwards, it squeaks a bunch. It sounds like it's coming from that side. So take off the cover and see if we can grease it up. Okay, I got lithium grease for these joints here. Back there. Down here on both sides. Seems to be where the noise is coming from. You can also use silicone grease. Same thing on the other side. Lithium grease to the main joints. Make sure you find the exact rotation point. Apply the grease around there. And then run the machine a little bit so it can set in. wasn't able to stop the squeaking by applying the grease from the outside only, so I'll have to take it apart. You can tell my zero fans. Do you want to tell them that I was right?
Hafiz was right. His girlfriend was wrong.
I bought 2 headlamps. She said we didn't need 2 headlamps. But now I'm making good use of the headlamps. So I'm a right guy.
You're about to be wrong.
I was also right to try and put the lubricant on several different elements. Several different pivot joints. I could have sworn the sound was coming out of here. So you can see all that grease that I put on there. I was having trouble getting it in, so I actually just took this little piece of paper and shoved it in there. And I was able to get a good amount of lubricant through to there. But didn't ease up on the sound from that. Took off a couple other pieces and frankly didn't enjoy it. So I thought I would give this a try too. I put a little bit of grease onto the, one second here, put a little bit of grease onto the belt just by dropping it like this here. I wanted to be careful not to put too much because you don't want the belt to slip. But at the same time, it clearly needed to be lubricated because by the time I got this on here, I'll demonstrate for you in a sec, but the machine started running quiet almost immediately. Do a little test here. Oh, the bolt just fell off because I'm running it half put together, but you can hear that it's quiet now. So it was the belt. Okay, I turn it on and it works now. Sounds smooth. Lessons learned. Always make sure you look for the pack of bolts when you buy something. Otherwise it's probably not worth the trouble to make your own bolts, put it together. And always try to grease the easy parts before you take things further apart to get to the difficult joints.